Hello and welcome to another episode of Sandy Killer Projects. In this episode, we're going to show you how to install this product right here. It's called Idle Stopper. What it does is it makes it so that you don't have to hit the button on the center console right here to cause the idle stop to shut off. It makes it to where the idle is automatically shut off upon starting the car. Now, we are going to install this product. I do have to mention we are in no way, shape, or form associated with this brand. I have spoke to the owners through email, and they're actually very friendly and are interested in seeing the video that we end up putting out about this. All right, so the first thing we're going to do to get started is we're going to use the provided tool to pop this collar down. And we're going to push this collar and the boot that's below down so that we can access the screws to remove the handle head. All right, so the two Phillips head screws that are down here in the collar, these are the ones that you're going to undo. All right, so once the two screws are removed, just set them aside for now, and then the handle will lift directly up off of the stick, and this frees up the ability to move all the rest of this stuff off of here, because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the top of the console off. All right, so next you're going to take the pry tool they provided. I actually managed to snap this off in the process of doing this, but you work it along the corner here, and this ends up giving you the front edge. Then you're just going to keep working it around until you get to the other edge. Then you keep working along until it pulls the carbon fibery looking plastic bit off of the top all the way around. All right, so now that I have the plate up and off, the next thing that has to happen is we have to remove this completely out of the way by undoing the plugs that are underneath. In the process of doing this, I ended up setting the parking brake because I'm going to end up having to move the stick into different positions to make this line up. All right, so that we get a chance to take a look inside, this is the plug wire that goes up into the bottom of the stick for the lights. This little stand needs to come off. If you try to remove it from the other side, it's basically a zip tie and it won't come out. So what you do is you push the two little tabs on either side of this and the stand for it comes completely off. All this does is keep the wires from getting engaged into the stick when you're moving it into position. This is the next one down. This would be the controls for your gear mode selector on the Sport. And then this one down here is the one for your parking brake, brake hold, and for the idle stop. All right, so if in the event you need to move the gear selector, and in this case we are going to end up moving it, this little white lever down here is actually the release mechanism. This is actually what you'd have to get into if you were going to tow the car and you need to get it out of gear. So you push down on this white bit and then you push where the button would be and then you select which gear you want it to be in, and ideally you just put it into neutral. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this lower piece of trim, which also includes the charging pad, if you have a charging pad, or just the junk pad where you put your phone and whatnot, because we have to be able to get to the back side of this power supply, which is where we're going to pull power for the idle stop. The first thing we have to do is we have to remove this Phillips head screw off. All right, so I'm starting to make my way around this and lift this off. I was using their pry tool and it managed to shatter into a million pieces. It doesn't really matter. This is a cheapy tool. I ended up going and get my own kit out of the garage, and this worked much better anyway, especially since there's a little button right here that goes into the side that holds this wiring harness in place, and it's much easier to have something that's got a split in it to pop this one out. So I would recommend having your own kit and not relying on their tool. Once you have this up, this is also part of the reason why we put this into neutral or out of the park gear, because of the fact that if it's all the way up, it leans too far this way. But you're going to work this until it comes all the way up, and then it'll lean to the side so that you can access the wires in the back of it. All right, so for our purposes, the only thing that we're going to end up removing is the power wire from the back of the 12-volt power supply, which is that guy over there. It's also the furthest plug away. We're going to use this to supply power to the idle stopper. All right, so they have a setup that has like a little jumper that goes in between the two of them, and this is actually one of the more important parts to pay attention to. The connector bit goes in just like the stock connector plug would. So there's no change in how that's going to happen, but you're going to take the other end of it and you're going to connect it to the stock plug for the car. But as you notice, there's actually a little bit of brass sticking out of this. As a safety precaution, they have it set up to where you wrap a piece of foam over the top of it, which that's what we're going to do next. And it's actually smart too, because this is basically like an open electrical connection. Now the stock setup actually has a very similar look to it. If you get in there close, there's a bit of the metal sticking out, but either way, they're protecting your electrical circuit. Honda is not, so we're going to do it the way they did it, and we're going to protect it. All right, so now once you have that jumper wire connected back into the power supply, you're just going to tuck this back in. Now this does take a little bit of finagling because of the fact that if you don't do this all the time, there are weird little tabs that hang out and you could easily jam them on the outside of this or break it. So what you have to do is just take a little time and finesse the clips back into the side of the track here. And then once everything is in and good and everything is out of the way here, you're going to gently shove it in. That will cause those to lock into place and it'll line up these bottom ones down here. So that's the process of getting this on. But in the process of doing that, you also need to fish the idle stop wires down this direction so that they're in the position where you need them, because the connections that are going to happen are over here. Then once everything is down and locked, put your Phillips head screw back into here and pop your clip back into the side for your wires. All right, so the next thing that happens with this is there are 3 connectors in here. You're going to take the white one is the one that goes in the front plug. This is the smaller one that goes in the middle. This is the one that your idle stopper connects to. I was actually wrong because I thought it was this one because this one has more plugs in it, but it's actually the smaller one. This is the one that controls your idle stopper. This is what will do the function of you pushing the button instead of you pushing the button. This is the circuit board that controls that. The next thing that we do with this is we're going to reconnect each of the 3 different connectors using the idle stopper connector now, because we have the idle stopper connected to the middle one. All right, so once you get all 3 the wire connectors back into place and the little mount on the plastic, you just push this back down onto the clips to get it back into place. And once everything's locked back into place, you just push the boot down so that you can get the stick to go back onto it, and then apply the 2 Phillips head screws back into the position there, and then slide the clip up until it locks. All right, before I move on and show you how this works, this kit comes with one extra piece of felt and a zip tie. The reason for that is because in other videos, they actually take the module and they mount it to the sides so that it doesn't rattle around. There's enough space inside of here that this the module doesn't end up rattling around inside of here. If you end up having a problem with it rattling around, you can end up using the felt and the zip tie pieces back inside of there to kind of mount it to a position to get it out of the way so it's not rattling around. All right, so let's show you how this thing works. You have to have the car back in park, start the car with the start button, and then we're gonna look over here on the dash at the where the automatic button is, and I haven't touched anything on the center console at all. Give it a little bit of time, and that A will automatically come on its own. So now what happens is every time you start the car, the idle stop will automatically be turned off. If you want it to turn on, you hit the A off button like you normally would to turn it off, and that turns it back on. And then if you want it back on, it will easily be pushed again to come back on. But every time you start the car, it comes on in this position, and you no longer have to worry about hitting the button to make the idle shut off. The advantage of this is it saves your engine, it saves your starter. Your starter was never designed to be an appliance that was used over and over and over in the manner in which the idle stop functions. They never made an upgrade to starters to make them last longer because of the fact that they're turning your car on and off 15-20 times more than they used to in the past. They just expect you to replace your starter. So to not have to replace your starter, these idle stopper features end up saving you a lot of time and money over time. So as for somebody like me, I absolutely do not like the fact that I have to hit this button every time to make the engine shut off, stop turning my car off at lights. I forget about it a lot of the time, and I've had this car for about 35,000 miles. I really don't appreciate having to do this. So I'm really excited about the idle stopper feature that I've now installed, and it seems to be working perfectly, as I just showed you from the A automatically coming up. If you guys have any questions about this, feel free to message us. We may end up putting in one of these idle stoppers on the Honda Passport as well. So thank you for watching. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We'll keep making more content.